About the Balls podcast
with Mark Davis, Kriska Meinhardt, Luke Rule, Jake Winnekind, Alan Tomasella, and Nick the Doc Skirkle. Hey, welcome to another episode of All About the Balls podcast. I'm Mark Davis. I'm in the Sack House. It is a beautiful Wednesday night, November 20th, 2024. We're here to preview Week 12 of the NFL season, Week 13 of the college football season, have some Heisman talk. And when I say we, I'm joined alongside my cousin, blood, literally flesh and blood, Dylan Powell. He stepped up to the plate, called the man an hour ago, said, hey, I need you to show up tonight, talk some football, show us your ball knowledge. Dylan, welcome to the show. Welcome to in here for the first time. How are you doing? Big game for the Dolphins as they're trying to turn around their season against the New England Patriots with Mac Jones. I'm sorry, with Drake May, sorry.
Oh, yeah, R.I.P. Mac Jones. He's actually getting a lot of playing time still down in Jacksonville. But thanks for having me on the show, Marcus. It's good to be here where others fail. You know, others have to step up. So it's no problem. I am a ball knower, self-proclaimed, but we'll surely find out in the next hour or so.
I mean, maybe the guys that are not on tonight, maybe when they watch, maybe they take some notes. I know Luke's not the best note taker, but maybe the other guys will take some notes and they can start getting some ball knowledge. I mean, I'm catching these guys and pick them or the picks, and we're going to be going that tonight. But Dylan, man, we have a pretty good weekend. Some good games, a lot of bad games, honestly. But there's some big games we're going to talk about. We're going to talk Ravens, Chargers, Cardinals, Seahawks, the 49ers, Packers, Vikings, Bears, and we'll dip into some college as well. Couple big games out there with Indiana and Army, which surprisingly. But you ready for this, man?
Yeah, I mean, off the rip, I mean, what game sticks out to you the most if you had to pick one right now?
It'd be the Harbaugh game. It'd be the Harbaugh. I believe John's undefeated against his brother.
Yeah, I mean, they tried to turn the lights out and sneak one back, and actually was a lot closer than a lot of people thought. And then he left town to go get a championship at a school he can win at after a couple years, I guess. But even then, it took the spy in the back of the chamber there to get that national championship, if you ask a lot of people. But neither here nor there. But
yeah,
for me, I actually like the 49ers-Packers game a lot too. I think that's going to be just another good game. Two playoff teams previewed there, so we can touch on that.
49ers have to start winning, so that's obviously a big game for them, especially with the Bills next week. So they have to win some of these games coming up to save their season. Or give themselves a chance at least.
No, you're exactly right.
But let's jump into the first game we're going to talk about. The Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Chargers, Dylan. I mean, me and Luke talked last week, you know, how the Ravens and the Steelers could win and how they play. If the Ravens, in order for them to win, a lot of times it needs to be a shootout. Well, the Chargers are similar to the Pittsburgh Steelers. They play very good defense, very sound defense. They don't make a lot of key mistakes on offense. They run the ball really well. Herbert's playing better ball with Lad McConkey. Can the Baltimore Ravens go into Los Angeles after that tough loss to the Steelers and win a potential defensive game, which something they have not done this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think absolutely. First of all, it could be biased or recency bias. I think the Ravens are very good when they lose. So I think they, you know, if memory serves, tend to kind of smack teams around. I don't have a real statistic, but just overall watching football, recent years, they don't lose a lot in the regular season. They're a very good, safe regular season team. And we talk about how good this Chargers defense is. I mean, they gave up 4, should have been 5 touchdowns to Burrow, right? So it's not like they're not susceptible, it seems, when they play an actual offense and not, you know, teams sub 500. Obviously, the Bengals are sub 500, but I think statistically are the best sub 500 team of all time. I think the only other quarterbacks, I think the only other quarterbacks to do what Burrows did usually only had, I think they averaged like 2 or 3 losses that season, right? And Burrows already had 6 or 7. So that's tough. I mean, I think Chargers are great. They're exceeding expectations. I put a $10 bet for them to not win over 8.5 games. That's about to lose already in the beginning of the year. So I was not a believer in them. They're a fun team to watch. Justin Herbert looked, I think, tremendous. The last couple of games he's been healthy. I think he really reminds people he's a top 6 to 10 quarterback every week, you know? So I think it'll be an electric game. I think the Ravens bounce back in a big way, and I think they cover, and I think they win convincingly, but it doesn't mean the Chargers are bad or not having a great year, you know?
Loser this if it's a close game, man. I'm not going to say they're a bad team. Chargers are definitely exceeding expectations at a faster rate. I thought they would have been competitive, but I thought they'd have been competitive losers this year. And That's not the case. Hey, good up for them. They're number one scoring defense. That's where my story is. Can Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry look like the offensive player of the year, the MVP? Derrick Henry had a bad game to his standards. I get it. He had 5 yards to carry, but it was off really a big run or two. It wasn't really anything spectacular. A bad fumble as well to start the game. This is a bounce back game, like you were saying, that I need to see the Ravens do it. Lamar Jackson, a lot of times when the spotlight's on in the big games, he shrinks a little bit. And I'm not blaming all last week on Lamar. We hammered that last night. But it is a bounce back game. Herbert, self-proclaimed, by the way, by Jim Harbaugh, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time.
A beast.
I went down the list with Riz before the show. I had him at number 30 of quarterbacks I would take. So he'd be the 30th quarterback of all time I would take. And arguably take a couple guys before him too. But it's around 30, I got Herbert all time.
Yeah. That's it seems high off the rip. I'm just trying to think.
I went through every team's quarterbacks, like history, division by division. Actually, I didn't even have Warren Moon on there. So yeah, there's 30 right there.
He's good. I mean, he's very the best ability is availability, and he struggled with that to start his career. He had one of the best rookie seasons ever by any quarterback.
He doesn't have any shining moments yet either.
But no, he hasn't been on the field that much. I mean, him, it's just the story of the NFL sometimes, but he feels like someone who's been hurt quite a bit to start his career. But I don't think they get it done this weekend. I think the Bengals expose some of the things they have. I mean, and if you think of any team that can blow a big league, big lead in this league recently, it's definitely the Chargers. I mean,
they were close last week.
Yeah, they were close last week, and just in general, some recent playoff games I can remember, and historically they lose close games with the Phillip Rivers era. So just they have that aura to them a little bit too, blowing the huge leads. They're one of the top teams I think of in that regard too. I don't think they get much of a lead in this game. I don't think it's an Edwards revenge game. I don't think it's Dobbins revenge game, and I don't think it's a lesser Harbaugh revenge game, if you will. So
Harbaugh is 2-0. Like I said, he beat him on Thanksgiving 1 year, and then beat him in the Super Bowl, of course, which is the big one. And another thing too is, I just lost track what I was going to say about the Ravens. I lost track what I was going to say about the Ravens. I just think the Ravens are a better team. Oh, yeah, playoff implication. This game right here could be a playoff implication game if both teams are wild card spots and they don't win the division. The winner of this could be the 5 seed. The loser could be the 6 seed. So now you're playing that 4, possibly Houston. The other one possibly playing the Buffalo Bills or the who would be the Steelers. So you have to play maybe the Steelers as well. So like avoid going to Heinz Field. Acrisure Stadium.
It'll always be Heinz Field. You're fine.
Yeah, the catch a bottle is no longer there. It sucks.
Yeah.
I know what watching Pat's show, Tone Diggs gets sad. But no, I just think this is a big game, man. This is the biggest game of the week. I will be arriving to Florida right before the game starts. So hopefully hit up like Twin Peaks or something like that. Going to try and get Jake out there. He owes me for the baseball bet of Yankees-Giants, who would have had a better record for the year. And shout out to Brenda Patterson. She's a classy lady, Dylan. She watches the show from time to time.
That's awesome. Good to have her.
She's HTTC, not R no more, but hail to the Commanders. I know, we got to be politically correct.
It'll always be HTTFT for me, football team. Most electric name of all time.
I like the name. That was actually a class name. Yeah, Dylan, this game we're going to talk about one of the picks. Let's go to the NFC West. First place on the line here, surprisingly. The 6-4 Arizona Cardinals coming off a bye week. By the way, looking pretty good on defense. Marvin Harrison, Kyler Murray, Trey McBride been looking pretty good, and James Conner, of course. Traveling to the Pacific Northwest to face the Seahawks, coming off a road upset victory over the 49ers, shot themselves there in the division hunt. Dylan, what are you looking for with these two teams? Division battle here.
I mean, I'm just not a Cardinals guy. I'll admit it. There's the cat's out of the bag. Something about I think Murray's a baller, but if you look on the other side of the coin, I just don't think they have that much talent still. I mean, they're thriving. I think they're doing way better than I thought they'd be doing, sure, but we're at the point in the season where things kind of start to take shape, and you kind of know who the good teams are and the bad teams are. They're still one of those teams I'm on the fence about, even after all this time. One of probably the 2 or 3 teams I'm still not sure, truly what they are. I think the Seahawks are just really good. I think everyone just forgets about the Seahawks. JSN's really come into his own, and with DK out, he's a dog. Geno
Even with
Smith.
DK in, he's a dog too.
With DK in, he's a dog. It helps him, but I think he's a baller overall. When Kenneth Walker is healthy, he's a solid running back. And Geno Smith, I mean, as much fun as it was at how bad he was in the beginning of his career on the disaster dumpster fire of a tornado organization the Jets have always been.
Shout out to the Jets.
It is crazy. I mean, he really can win games. I mean, he proved it last year, and he kind of proved it this year. I mean, he can win those close games at the end. He has a decently solid quarterback at this point. So I'm big on the Seahawks. I think it's going to be a surprising rout, 10+ point win.
Ooh. I'm just not. I kind of bring it back a little with Geno because Geno is one of those roller coasters. 11 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. So you're going to get the highs, you're going to get the lows, you're going to get the peaks, you're going to get the valleys there. And that's just the way that Geno is. He's operating under that. Last year, took 2 years ago, they went to the playoffs, and then they stayed at 9-8 last year, just didn't make it. I don't know. I'm opposite on the Cardinals. If you look since what they did since the Packers game when they get up 34 points, yeah, they get 27 against y'all a couple weeks later, but only 15 to the Chargers. 27 against y'all, give that one to them. 9 points to the Bears, 6 points to the Jets. They've held teams in check. Now, the offense is the best with those teams. Arguably, yeah, the Bears gone through offensive coordinator change. The Jets are the Jets. But the Chargers been playing pretty good offense as of lately. So, I don't know. The defense is averaging 222 points a game. Kyler's not turning the ball over. He's efficient. James Conner's arguably one of the best running backs this year. Obviously not Derrick Henry, Saquon level, Josh Jacobs, but he's up there. He's all around back. And Marvin Harrison and McBride, they're coming to their own as well. I don't know. I'm kind of believe. I was not a believer in the Cardinals before the year. I thought it was like a 3 or 4 win team.
Yeah,
6 wins, and it's tough. And out of all the division teams, they play at Seattle historically really good, actually too. They are very good in Seattle.
Yeah, it's a great division. It's probably the most fun division in all of football right now. It'd be hard to argue against it. It's a very close division. You have teams, all those teams can win on any given Sunday between the Rams, the 49ers, the Seahawks, and them. So it's just there's this vibe that every time everyone forgets about the Seahawks, they go and win the last second against the 49ers, or they beat the Cardinals, and I'm just riding high. I just can't bring myself around still to trust in the little guy over there in Arizona running around.
Well, he's 3-0 since Call of Duty came out, by the way. That's the opposite trend.
Which is impressive. I mean, somebody really must have gotten in front of him this year and said, just, don't buy it. We'll buy you the deluxe edition after the season if you hold out.
I'm not a big Kyler Murray fan in general. I've said he's overrated, but he's playing good ball, and I can't take that away from him. Like you said, the little guy. Trey McBride, arguably one of the best tight ends in football too. So, they're a young team, of course. I mean, I don't think they're gonna go far if they make the playoffs. I like them better than the Seahawks right now because I just don't know which Geno Smith I'm gonna get. And that's the only situation is he's a roller coaster. So which part of the ride is he on right now? That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I think he's trending the right way. I mean, we'll see. I mean, as much as we think Murray's overrated, is 2018 he won the Heisman and he's won quite a lot of games on bad teams. So it's just one of those guys I think we're biased against for no reason. I think he's kind of, when he does play, he is a winner, but it's just something about him on the reverse I don't trust either. So it'll be a fun game. I think it really will be a good game though.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's the same time as the next game we're talking about, the 49ers and Packers, man. And a team that really needs a win, and that's San Francisco 49ers. They are 5-5. They are technically in last place in the division, and they're traveling to Lambeau Field to face the 7-3 Packers, third place in the NFC North. Both teams would love a win here, obviously for division purposes and playoff purposes. Dylan, what are the 49ers going to do after coming off an emotional loss? Nick Bosa's hurt, by the way, too. That's a big potential loss there. What do the Niners need to do to stop the good defense of the Packers and a gunslinger and Jordan Love?
Yeah, I mean there's no doubt they're banged up, right, on both sides of the ball, and that's been their story all year. I mean, you get Ayuk back, you lose him for the year after he signs. You get Debo back, and then every other week you don't know what kind of Debo you're going to get. George Kittle, the second best tight end in all of football behind the stud of Brock Bowers. And it's close still, in my opinion, because of all the things George Kittle does. But, even he's been hurt recently. So, I think the 49ers are just going to have to do what they seem to do under the Shanahan regime, which guys step up. You have Jawan Jennings who stepped up. You have CMC on his third week back and healthy. You do lose Bosa, which is huge. I mean, he's top 5
He
defensive
might
player.
play. He might
But
play still.
yeah, he's not extremely hurt, and this is a big game. Kittle said he is playing on Sunday. He's already announced he'll play through and work. He usually works the Packers, traditionally. So I mean, they're gonna have to win a gritty week. I mean, on the reverse, it's which Jordan Love are we gonna get? The guy looked great, pretty great last week, but weeks before that, I mean, golly, I mean, just some brutal games in there. I mean, probably a guy who's not fully healthy since the week 1 injury against the Eagles himself, you could say, but battling that, but it'll be an interesting game. I don't know. I mean, I think the 49ers are going to win. If you told me we wake up on Monday morning and the Packers have won, I wouldn't be shocked by any means. But what do you think? What do you think the 49ers are, or who do you think is going to even win? I guess we should start there.
I'm going to tell you right now, I think by the time we get out of Thanksgiving weekend, the Niners are going to be on a 3-game losing streak. Going back to the Seahawks. I think it's not just going to be a Jordan Love game. I think it's going to be a Josh Jacobs game. Josh Jacobs keeps the Niners off the field. You give Brock Purdy and them less drives, less time to work the offense, work the team. With, like you said, Chris McCaffrey coming back, he's been pretty impressive his first 2 games back. He's gotten more and more of a workload each week, and I like what I'm seeing from Christian. He's obviously one of the better running backs when healthy. Like you said, a lot of injuries. That's been the MO for the 49ers, especially under Shanahan's history, honestly. He's dealt with a lot of injuries since he's been a coach there. Jordan Love is a gunslinger. He would probably be leading the league in interceptions if he played a full season. Obviously, I have a couple games missed. He's at 11 interceptions already, 16 touchdowns, but he'd probably be leading the league in touchdowns or close to it at least as well. I just think that the Packers defense, Xavier McKinney, one of the best safeties that is playing football right now. He's second in interceptions behind Kirby Joseph from the Lions. The defense for the Packers is keeping them in games as well. I get it. They gave up a potential game-winning field goal drive to the Bears, but hey, the field goal unit came up clutch. I just don't like what I'm seeing from the Niners. I don't like anything that I'm seeing besides Christian McCaffrey. Purdy's playing good what they're asking him to do with the guys that are missing, but still, they don't look impressive at all. And you're going into Lambeau Field in late November. It's going to be cold. It's not going to be like freezing and snowy, but it's going to be outdoors. It's going to be a little chilly. And this time they're not in San Francisco. And this time they're not playing Aaron Rodgers in a snow game where you can run the ball. This is a better Packers defense of recent years. Not the same Packers defense that the Niners have got. And I know Kittle plays good against them. But Josh Jacobs is going to be the difference maker of this game, in my opinion. I think number 8 is going to be the reason why the Packers win this football game.
Yeah, I mean, it's just as long as I can remember, which just is, again, a lot of what we talk about on this show, is recency biased. The 49ers are one of those just teams that win in the regular season. I mean, I guess you could say the Packers are too, even amongst their relatively recent struggles. They didn't even struggle that bad. But I just think Shanahan finds a way to win. But Packers, I mean, they're a great team. This is probably, in terms of the matchup this week, I think it's the 2 closest teams. It was my pick of the week for games behind the Chargers, Ravens. I think it's going to be like a 28-32 game, and somebody's going to score a touchdown on the last drive.
Definitely going to be one of the best games of the week. I don't think a blowout happens no matter who wins this game. I think it's going to be close. And shout out to you, Nelson. Yeah, I mean, you're not a big Niners guy. You're picking the Packers to win. Jake, our local Niners guy, he's been very hesitant. I've been saying for the last couple of years, when's the seat going to get warm for Kyle Shanahan? And that's no hatred towards Kyle Shanahan because of the Falcons Super Bowl. It's the fact that if teams at his caliber, if you sit at the threshold of, okay, we go far, but we don't win, I get it. You're going far, but you're not winning. You're accepting mediocrity. You have to at least win a Super Bowl when this contract expires. And Jake's already said the seat needs to be hot. And it's not just Shanahan's fault. The coordinators, especially the defense coordinator, doesn't look the best. That's 2 years in a row that the DC that Shanahan brought in with Kyle or John Lynch is not working. So the head coach gets fault for that as well. And I'm not saying fire him this year, but I'm saying, like I said, by the next 3 years, if he doesn't have a Super Bowl, I don't know who the young hot shot's going to be in 3 years. No one's going to predict that. But Shanahan needs to start getting some more exposure and attention to what's going on. I get it. He's they have injuries, but I've heard of as long as you got a healthy quarterback, they go far. And they're 5-5, and they play the Lions, or they play still the Lions this year. They
They have a
play
gauntlet.
Bills.
They have an absolute gauntlet. Play the Dolphins, who can beat some teams when healthy with Tua. I mean, they have a tough schedule for sure.
It's not a given for the Niners to make the playoffs this year, and that's not Shanahan-like. I mean, that's not.
I think it's a stretch to say they just go far. I mean, you're under playing 2 Super Bowls in the last 4 years and also an NFC Championship a little bit. I mean, I think every franchise besides the Kansas City Chiefs would take those statistics if I had to guess, right? I mean, I know I would.
I mean,
if Andy Reid
got let go by the Eagles 10 years ago, anything's possible. And he was taking the Eagles pretty far a lot of his time there.
Yeah, I think it's important to note the second most successful franchise in the last 5 years, bar none, behind the Chiefs. And then it's pretty much everyone else after that, in my opinion. In terms of success, I mean, I don't really know how you debate 2 Super Bowls and NFC Championship appearance, right? I mean, that
would you take that, or would you take that, or take the Rams 1 Super Bowl win?
I would take the Rams one Super Bowl win, because winning a Super Bowl, obviously, yes, that's a fair point. If that would probably catapult them into more successful with 1 Super Bowl, but I guess they're the most successful team, I should say. I would take the Rams 1 Super Bowl and then the Niners.
I mean, there's not been a lot of successful teams in the Mahomes era. Obviously, Brady had his run. The Eagles were before Mahomes. So, so it's honestly been the Patriots, the Bucks, which has been both Brady, and then the Rams, and then the Chiefs, of course.
Yeah,
that have won Super Bowls. Now this year might be. We'll see. This year's gonna be a little different, but yeah, this is a big game because it's also playoff implications too. If the Packers lose a game, the Niners are a wild card team. That could knock the Packers down a little bit too. So you're looking at those situations too, where teams you're gonna have to start winning. Like this is the end of the year too. I mean, the Packers have a tough schedule as well remaining. They have the Lions, the Vikings one more time, so they have some tough games coming up their way as well.
Yeah, for sure. It'll be good. This be probably, again, my pick of the week.
Game of the week. Hey, a game that I'm thinking is a sneaky game of the week, Dylan. That's the Vikings and the Bears. I know the Bears coming off that exciting loss to the Packers. The offensive coordinator, I thought Caleb Williams and the offensive scheme looked a little better. Minnesota, kind of a roller coaster team the last, few weeks. You don't know. They go out there and they barely beat, the Jaguars, and then they kind of handle the Titans pretty well. So what are you looking for here? Can the Bears at home pull off the home upset, kind of like they almost did against the Green Bay Packers?
I do, and I have them doing the upset for one reason. When teams get new coaches, for some reason, they just play better. The Saints have rattled off a few wins. The Bears got the ball out of Caleb Williams' hands much faster last week. They weren't asking him to do all these changes at the line. I think they've always had a great defense, even if they have given up a little bit with all the struggles. And they look good. They looked pretty good against the Packers. So I think it's every week there's a weird game. This is my weird game. I don't think the Vikings have looked that tremendous. They looked pretty abysmal against the Jaguars 2 weeks ago. And
12-7.
They had a great comeback win this past weekend, but I don't wasn't in love with that win or how bad they looked in the first half or any of that either, really. So tremendous defense, not a Brian Flores guy. Shut out from the top of the mountains. He did not set the Dolphins up for a ton of success in his reign.
Well, there's a lot of potential reasons, alleged reasons from him that why he couldn't get the Dolphins going.
Of course, yeah. So, but with all that said, tremendous defensive mind, great defensive coordinator. He's dialed up a very good defense for the Vikings. I think it's just one of those weeks. I think the Vikings are due up, and I think the Bears played well enough last week to pull off the win here. I mean, do you think the Bears have a shot, or think the Vikings rolling?
I think this is going to be a defensive slugfest. I think it's like you said, Darnold and the Vikings, they've kind of been up and down since, well, really, even though they won the London game against the Jets, they didn't really look spectacular in that game. Since they played the Packers where they scored 31, this team has been kind of like a roller coaster, against the Colts, against the Rams, the Titans and Jaguars. They haven't looked impressive, even the Jets, like I just mentioned. This is going to be, I feel like, a 2017, 2016 type ball game where it could be a game-winning field goal, like comes down to the wire. Maybe it's tied up, and someone has to make a drive here. Who do you trust more, Darnold or Caleb? I mean, they're both playing two of the best defenses in football. I mean, but that comes down to the weapons. I think TJ and Aaron Jones and JJ and Addison, they can do enough over Swift, Cole Kmet, who's kind of been a ghost out there the last 3-4 weeks. And yeah, they have DJ and Keenan Allen and Roman Dudes. I just trust more of what I'm seeing. I trust also Kevin O'Connell as a play caller more than I trust the interim offensive coordinator for the Bears as well. I'm a big Kevin O'Connell guy. I think O'Connell makes quarterbacks look good. He's kind of a quarterback whisperer, in my opinion. Not saying Kirk Cousins was because of Kevin O'Connell. Kirk Cousins was pretty good without him too before O'Connell was together. But I don't know. I think it can be a Bears upset home win. It's going to be a defensive slugfest. That's the question is maybe which defense puts the offense in a better spot at the end of the game. Maybe which one forces a turnover late. Big sack or something. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah. Well, let me read you this, and then I'll ask you one question. So here's their schedule: Bears. Then they play they play the Cardinals, Falcons, Bears again, Seahawks, Packers, Lions. So they play, besides the Bears, right here, they play twice. They play every team they play is above 500. Is this a must-win game? I don't think they lose out, but their seed, they could fall into 6, 7 seed pretty easily. I mean,
I think it's a must-win if they're trying to, obviously for the division. I wouldn't say it's a must-win for playoff spots yet because you still have more games to go. I mean, if you start now teetering a little bit, let's say they lose this week against the Cardinals and then you play the Falcons. I would say the Falcons game might be a must-win because now you're on a 2-game losing streak. You don't want to reel too much more because now you're playing for a playoff spot. The Lions to me is winning the division. Like I don't care anyone. The Lions are winning this division. They're gonna win it. But if they want to win the division, yes, must win. I think it's obviously it's more of a must win for the Bears. The Bears are going to be hungrier. They're going to be feistier because they have to win out. I believe what the Bears record is. Yeah, they're 4-6. They can maybe lose one more, but the Bears are kind of playing on that fire right there where you have to start winning games. Otherwise, you're going to miss the playoffs.
Yep, that's why you might get a Bears in that regard. Yep, and I think I just like the new coach mentality. I think you've seen it with the Saints. You've seen it in years past. The Raiders last year turned into this tremendous defense that won a few games. I'm just trying to think of other teams. Some interim coach for the Browns, whose name I can't remember. I think 2 years ago they went on a pretty tremendous winning streak. And by tremendous, I mean rat off 2 or 3 wins, right? But and I think the Bears looked just better. Letting some guy tell Caleb Williams to throw the ball a little quicker. I mean, that's kind of all it took. He's a rookie still, and they're treating him like the next coming of Peyton Manning. It's a little ridiculous.
That's what happens when you're
Peyton Manning never cried after a loss in his mom's arms, but it is what it is. I mean, he'll bounce back.
I will say for the Bears' sake, too, if you start losing games, you're most likely going to fire the coach, which now you're going back to that typical Bears philosophy where you
classic Bears. Yeah,
classic Bears move, and then you might set him back if you don't get the right coach. Now, I'm a big believer in Ben Johnson. I think he should be the hottest name coming into the next year. Now, I think a Ben Johnson could fix the Chicago Bears if they go that route. I think with Caleb Williams, he helped turn Jared Goff around. I keep saying it. He doesn't baby Jared Goff. He doesn't handcuff Jared Goff like McVay did. He actually treats Jared Goff like an NFL quarterback, and that's no disrespect towards Sean McVay. Sean McVay, that wasn't the guy he drafted. It's not the guy he wanted. They brought Jared Goff in for a reason. They believed Jared Goff was a winner, and he could win games. And I think that Ben Johnson can do that with Caleb Williams as well if they go that route. That's obviously an off-season topic if the Bears even fire their head coach.
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to see the Goff has success in Lions win one because it'd be the only trade in history I can remember where 2 guys were traded, both won a Super Bowl, and it kind of worked out for both franchises. So that'd be cool, but we can talk about the Lions a little later. I think the Bears win. I think they get the upset, and I think it's just one of those weird weeks you have in the NFL, and I think the Vikings are due up, and there's not much more rhyme or reason except the new coach, and I think the Vikings just are ready for a loss. I think they're primed for it.
All Vikings fans are kind of like Riz has been bracing for it. He doesn't know which team to pick. He obviously wants to pick his team, but he's like, I can see my team losing. I mean, we're just shit organizations. So like we expect letdowns eventually, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been there your lifetime. The Dolphins were great at one point with Dan in the 70s, but we obviously weren't alive for those to witness it.
Yeah.
Watching YouTube clips. But Dylan, man, it's time, man. We're gonna dive into this right here. We're gonna jump into our NFL picks for the week. So I'm just trying to get it here. Yeah, so here we go. All right, so you're obviously not on here yet because this is your first week. I hope you can hear me good. Sometimes it lags in. So you're looking at last week's. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually. Oh man, I fucked up. Let me back out real quick.
What was a week behind?
Yeah, I was in a rush and I didn't have a chance to. I'm adjust it right now. But so your name won't obviously be on the records right here. Unfortunately, you were not. You weren't around. Hey, maybe you'll start coming in next year. You never know. But you obviously weren't around for it. So week 11 records goes as followed. I, along with Chris and Alan, we all three went 10-4. Luke 9-5, and Doc and Jake 8-6. Against the spread, me and Alan, man, 10-4. I think it's pretty good when you have against the spread a pretty good record like that. Doc 9-5, and then Chris and Jake 7-7. Luke had a tough week there. Dylan at 6-8. On the year, I'm catching Doc now. I'm only 3 back, and then Jake, I've passed Jake. I'm up 2 over him. He's down 5. Luke, Chris, and Alan battling for that third or that 4th spot, 4 through 6 against the spread too. Doc's still kind of ahead. Me, Jake, and Alan kind of catching them. Chris is trying to catch old Luke and me. So we're gonna jump into it. Obviously, cover the spread. Or Dylan means you have that team if you're above that, covering the spread. Against the spread, if you have the favorite, you just have them winning but not covering. Of course, if you're on the opposite side, it doesn't matter. But we're gonna start Thursday night, Dylan. Pittsburgh Steelers, Cleveland Browns. 3.5-point favorites for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And before you mention this game, I'm going to tell you a stat I heard before the game. The Pittsburgh Steelers have never won a road divisional Thursday night football game. They're 0-7 all time, 0-5 under Mike Tomlin. Also, Tomlin is 2-8 on the road on Thursday night football.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. You're going to probably get my my first ever Who Cares of the week. So to that, I would say Who Cares. Obviously, it seems no one else on the show does based on the picks, but the Steelers are tremendous. I mean, this is probably the most complete Steelers team I can remember, aside from obviously those late 2000s, mid 2000s Big Ben days when they won some Super Bowls, went on their tears, and et cetera. But they're just really good. And then, famous Jameis is the man. I love watching him. Perhaps the best motivational speaker of all time, perhaps has a career doing TED Talks, after he's done with the NFL. But I just don't think this Browns team, it's just not what they were with, thinking back even a year ago, they're just not what they were. They had this tremendous top 3 defense, I think, statistically. I mean, at the very least, top 5 from what I remember. It was one of the all-time great defenses, at least at home. I think they were pretty bad away, but it evened out to a pretty good defense still. I just don't think they're that team this year. They've obviously struggled with some injuries to all hands Watson, which is probably better for their franchise. But I think the Steelers are a good team. I think you could say the Steelers are probably 4th or 5th team overall. And after they beat the Ravens, I don't have them ahead of the Bills, Chiefs, or Ravens still personally in the AFC, but they're very much a 4 with a defense that could beat anyone. And I think they take it to the Browns this week.
Yeah, Nelson, I respect your Steelers. I said last night, this is a championship caliber team. I don't think they're going to win the Super Bowl if you ask me right now, but I think they can win it. I think they are a favorite to win it, a potential, because like Dylan said, in my opinion, this is the best defense in football. I don't care what anyone says. This is the best defense. They cause chaos everywhere in all 3 parts of that defense. And Russell Wilson is playing good football in his 4 games. 4-0. He's not turning the ball over that much. Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, they're eating. George Pickens looks like a really good wide receiver when you have a quarterback that throws him the ball consistently. Pat Freiermuth involved. And this is back to the Steelers-Browns Big Ben time frame where the Steelers are just going to run this team out of the stadium. I don't care about the stat that I gave you. I'm going Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is going to dominate this game. And I'm sorry, Cleveland, but you're back to being the Cleveland Browns of yesteryear. So give me the Steelers, Dylan.
Totally agree. So you even got yourself, you gave yourself your own Who Cares of the week. I love that.
I'm going to watch it because I'm a football guy, but I expect TJ Watt to maybe get a couple sacks. I expect Najee Harris and Russell Wilson and George Pickens to have a good game. It's set up for this. Is the Pittsburgh Steelers dominating the Cleveland Browns like it used to be with Big Ben. It's just the way
Steelers
it's going to be.
are the boas of the NFL. Yeah, just
Yep.
like he's saying, sleeping on them. They kind of just wrap around you and suffocate the life out of you. And next thing you know, the fourth quarters come to an end, and they won by 2 or 3 points, and you're on the bus home. So,
Yep. Dylan, next game, man. The Kansas City Chiefs coming off that loss to the Buffalo Bills, traveling to the Queen City, Charlotte, North Carolina to face the Panthers on a 2-game winning streak, by the way. First time Bryce Young's ever done that. Chiefs are 10.5-point favorites, and you can see Allen is riding with the Panthers because he said, fuck it, fuck the Chiefs.
yeah. I mean, Allen might have been hammered when he did this. I can't speak to his lifestyle. I don't know him too well personally outside of this, but my philosophy is this: if you have a good team and they lost the week before, especially to a good team like the Bills, they're going to wax that ass the next week. I mean, they just simply are. And the Chiefs are one of those teams. Like I mentioned earlier, I think the Ravens are kind of one of those teams against the Chargers. That's why I don't think it'll be nearly as much of a waxing by any means, but I think they will win. I like good teams after they lose, coming off a loss against middle to bad teams, and Panthers are bad, BAD. But I love Bryce Young. I pray for him every night. He's one of those guys who needs the prayers more than anyone. He's probably one of the most likable quarterbacks of this century to go to Alabama. Overall, a lot of people liked him in Tua nationally, which is rare to anyone from Alabama for the most part. So they're going to get steamrolled. I mean, I wouldn't surprise if this is a 24-26-3 half, and then it ends up somewhere in the 42-10 range.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on this game. It's going to be a blowout in the fourth quarter. You might see Carson Wentz playing quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. So, sorry,
he looks
Carolina.
Good. He looks good in the red.
Looks good in the red. I just don't. Allen's probably where he's at undisclosed location. He's probably drunk. They probably gave him alcohol for the first time in like 4 or 5 months, and one sip of beer got him feeling like he's had like 3 or 4 Long Islands in an hour's time frame. So. The guy's drunk off his ass. I'm going Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs win this game. Hey, your neck of the woods, man. The Dallas Cowboys traveling to the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are 10.5-point favorites at home. I thought I'd ever see this in my lifetime. The Commanders favored this big over the Cowboys. We know why, though. But
yeah, I mean, you got Cooper Rush, right? So Cooper Rush, fool's gold, as I call him, the gold rush, fool's gold. I mean, he's just you know what you're going to get, right? We've seen it the last 2 weeks. I think they look shockingly good in the first half against the Texans, and then I remembered that the Texans are shockingly bad for a good football team in the first half for this whole year. So that reflected in the score, obviously, in the second half, blowout. Commanders are good. The football team, the Redskins, throwback, whatever you want to call them, they're a good team. I think Jaden Daniels is a tremendous quarterback. No Bo Nix, right? Who's my stud of the week, Bo Nix, but Jaden Daniels is a good quarterback, having a tremendous rookie campaign. You probably have to go Bo Nix and him up there, and then Drake May with a clear Caleb in fourth. If you're looking at the rookies, so they got a stud there. 10.5 it's pretty fair. I mean, their Cowboys were bad with no backups, and now they're on pretty much complete backups. It feels like at this point. CeeDee Lamb doesn't want to be there. He wants to see the door and get the hell out of there. After last week, you can see the frustration of him slamming the helmet down. So they got a lot of problems. America's team, everyone else in America that doesn't root for him loves it. So majority of America is all behind the Cowgirls losing. I have no sympathy for the devil here myself, and give me the Redskins football team Commanders 10.5.
Whoa. Wait, so you are going with them covering the spread?
Yeah, I mean, I originally think when we talked, I did not have them covering. I thought the Cowboys could make it a close game. I see my name on my screen. My name's more on the right with them. So I kind of decided to ride with it. But yeah, when we talked earlier about an hour ago, it's a divisional game. I thought the Cowboys may cover. I just don't just as I sit here and talk with you, I just don't like the Cowboys. So I don't know if you allow switches, but I'll probably
No,
switch
I
my pick.
allow.
I do have to go
till it's
16-0 every week on both money line and spread to catch up. So big
Yeah, you
week for
do.
me.
Nelson, I don't think Trey Lance is starting this week. I'm saying Thanksgiving against the Giants, we might see Tommy DeVito, Trey Lance. I think that might be the game he starts. Everyone gets eyes on him to see what he's worth. But no, I think Cooper keeps it somewhat close. 10.5, you have to win by 11. That's still a lot. I know, I've been betting high spreads this year. I just don't know if I can give it to him. I think the Commanders' defense can get scored on a little bit. I think that the running back for Dallas, and I think CeeDee Lamb can have a good game with Cooper Rush quarterback. But I think when they lose this game, like Nelson was saying, I think Trey Lance might start against the Giants on Thanksgiving on Fox when that's the game. I'm going to go Commanders win here. Jane Daniels has a big game. Terry McLaurin has a big game after last week against the Eagles. Bounce back. Give me the Commanders to cover this game, to win this game by 8 or 9. Still a pretty good score, but not enough to cover the spread. The game we talked about earlier, the Minnesota Vikings, Skull Nation going against Bear Down, Chicago, and against the Bears. The Vikings 3.5-point favorites still.
Yeah, we're actually pretty split on this one. I mean, I get it. I'm actually surprised, so many people pick the Bears. I mean, it is a home game for them. And kind of said it all earlier. I just think, new coach. I think teams play really well with the new coach for whatever reason. It's a real thing in the NFL. At least it feels that way. I think they look good against the decent Packers team last week, and I think the Vikings are primed. So obviously, I pick them to win. So then I would be picking them to cover, obviously. So
yeah.
Why are you going with the Vikings? I mean, you just the better team, or
I just can't pick the Bears until I see them beat a good team. That's my philosophy here, and I know that the Vikings are due for a letdown game. It's the Vikings. We talked about it. It's bad franchises historically. It's what we do. Now, they're actually the best franchise ever to never win a Super Bowl. They have the the 5th most wins of all time.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
But I'm just not going to bet against the Vikings in this game until I see the Bears do something spectacular. And like we mentioned, the Vikings schedule, they have a bunch of games coming up that they have to start winning. So they are going to feel that pressure now. And I think that Brian Flores and his defense will get more to Caleb Williams than the Bears defense will get to Sam Darnold. And I believe the Vikings have better weapons for the quarterback because I haven't seen the receivers do that much for the Bears this year. I'm going to go Vikings field goal game, though. A 3-point game. Walk-off field goal.
Oh, yeah. I could see that.
Not a blocked field goal.
Maybe we'll get a triple doink.
Yeah, maybe the Vikings will do what the Packers did and legally block the kick. A lot of flags, they missed that play, but hey, that's near here or there.
Yeah, I saw the back and forth. You can't hit the center's helmet, and it was hit pretty big time on that. But that's the NFL.
Can't shove the guys in the back too on the defensive end. But
yeah,
like I said, that's the last week. Hey, this week Tennessee Titans, the Houston Texans in Houston. Texans are favored by 7.5 points, Dylan.
So on my screen, it looks like we all have the Texans in this one. So, it looks like
we all have Texans, but only me and Doc have the Texans covering the spread.
Gotcha.
The other 5 of you have the Titans keeping it within 7 points.
Gotcha. Okay, figuring that. So, yeah, I just think it's another divisional game. I like divisional games close. I think the Texans are being discovered as this kind of they looked tremendous last year. They're a very beatable team this year who's also still really good. I love their defense. I think their defense has gotten from good to better. I just don't think C.J. Stroud looks like this kind of prime winner stud when he has the ball. You think it's either going to be 3 points or 7 points. I'm not seeing that this year. The Titans are perhaps the most feisty team. It'll be really interesting seeing Aaron Rodgers there next year, slinging the rock for them. With that defense, they'll probably bring Devontae Adams back over, and then they'll have Calvin Ridley, aka Garrett Wilson of the South. So, they're a good team. They did a good job of getting picks, and they still have done a good job of keeping games close. They're not going to win, but I didn't love the Texans in the first half of the last game. I think the Cowboys were just bad enough to win and let them cover the spread. That big. I think it was like 10.5 last week, which obviously was covered pretty handily, but. We'll see. I just think it'll be a close game, like others seem to think. I just think it'll be. I don't think it'll be a win for the Titans. So.
I agree with you. The Titans defensively, one of the best defenses in football. I'll give them that. They are really good at defense, but this offense is arguably one of the worst offenses, led by one of the worst starting quarterbacks on offense, named Will Levis. Texas defense is going to eat him alive, and they're going to cover the spread. I think.
Yeah.
I think I have them covering the spread. I have them winning by at least 10 points here. I just don't trust anything that the Titans do until they start figuring out the offensive side of the ball. And Will Levis, just to me, does not look like the guy that's going to be the quarterback of the future. You just mentioned Aaron Rodgers. That would be maybe he can learn behind Aaron Rodgers for a year, maybe refresh. But no, I don't have this being a close game at all. Maybe the first quarter's close, but after that, it's going to be the Houston Texans all the way.
I've never seen a guy who looks like he wants to win or tries to win as much as Will Levis. Like, he looks like someone who really does. I just don't. It's just the decision making, even more than the talent's just not there right now. And it really wasn't there in college, so it's not like a huge surprise, right? I mean, he's kind of like this Josh Allen, huge arm. He's very fun to watch. He'll run you over, but and Josh Allen struggled his rookie year. I'm not saying Will Levis will get to the caliber of Josh Allen. I'm not seeing that yet, but I think he has the talent there and the arm strength to get there, kind of like Allen was out of Wyoming, right? Takes a really good coach and a special team. But
Titans also had a lot more in place for Will Levis than the Bills had for Josh Allen, too, coming in.
Oh, yeah, that's more than fair. I mean, Josh turned that whole franchise around fairly quickly. He's a very fun to watch, and he's good, but his rookie year wasn't,
No, he wasn't
stellar. I mean, it was, it was okay. And now look at him. So there's hope. But I don't know if Rodgers will really be there. That's a joke. I do think they cover this week. I think the Titans are actually could beat a lot of NFL rosters. Maybe not the best people, but any week they're a pretty fun, feisty team. So I think they cover.
All right. Well, moving on to the best team in the NFL. That's the Detroit Lions. They're traveling to the Indianapolis Colts. The Lions are favored by 7.5 points. Only Allen has got the Colts covering it, making it a touchdown game.
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking up some, but it's just an absolute routing. I mean, they're averaging 34 points a game. It might be even higher. I might have even had last week's stat because they obviously scored a shit ton last week. But, I mean, the Lions are awesome. Lions are tremendous. They've sucked forever, as long as I can remember. So I think America's kind of getting behind. If your team's out, if the Dolphins are out, Lions all the way, right? They are tremendous offense. I've never seen it. It's good to have running back position truly back. I mean, two studs just running the rock down everyone's throat. They have, like you said, they unleash Goff. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown, the sun god. You have Sam Laporta, who, having an off year and still great, but he's back now. He's looked better and better the last couple of weeks. So,
Williams.
I think it's a routing. I think the Colts was Anthony Richardson comeback win against the Jets was super fun. And not really comeback, I guess the Jets more came back, but they won the game at the end, and that was a fun game. Surprisingly, I think it's a fluke game. You never know what you're going to get with the Colts. Anthony Richardson can sling it and win it, but it's not going to be against the Lions. I don't think anyone does, except it looks like Allen has the Colts covering, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
he's drunk.
Allen's 0-2 on. They must have him at high altitude or wherever he is this week for training or something. I don't know.
No, the MCDC is got the boys playing at a very fun level of football. I mean, even when they play bad, they are still in the game. I mean, obviously they barely lost to the Bucs week 2, and then their worst game, which they did win against the Texans, they ended up winning that game 26-23. They're the only team to drop 52 points twice this year. They are the best team in football until said otherwise. I don't care if the Chiefs are the reigning champions. That's last year. This year, the Detroit Lions, they're the best team in football. I get called a Lions closet fan by the rest of the boys on the podcast, and I'll take it. I like the story. I love the situation the Lions are in. It's brand new to me. The Lions have never been really good. They've been in the playoffs a couple times in my lifetime, but they've never been good. They've never had Super Bowl expectations, even with Stafford. This is fun to watch, man. And sorry, Indy, you're not playing the New York Jets.
You're
playing the Detroit Lions. And It's in the dome. It's in a dome. So expect the Lions to cook. I have the Lions easily covering this game.
Yeah, I think we all agree there.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. Moving on to your team, the Miami Dolphins. They're welcoming the New England Patriots in South Beach. The Dolphins are 6.5-point favorites, and I believe Tua has never lost to the New England Patriots in his career.
No, Tua has never lost the Patriots. Obviously, every game's a must-win at this point with the start to the season with losing to um, the 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 Colts and Titans we had at the beginning of the year were a couple must-wins that we lost with backup quarterback play. So you get into this situation where every game's a must-win. The Dolphins, no matter who they play, love keeping it close. You could play a head of the division Cardinals and lose by 3 with 2 seconds left. You could play a top 3 Bills offense and team overall and uh, lose at the very last second because Jordan Poyer might still actually play for the Bills based on how that game ended. Um, I think the Dolphins do win. I think it's a must win. I think Drake May on the reverse is a good quarterback. And here's the telltale sign of a good quarterback, and that's why Bo Nix is my stud of the week. And Drake May is just as much up there as if you can take these receivers everyone deems before the beginning of the year as nobodies and throw 3 touchdowns to 3 different guys. I think that's like Herbert did his rookie year, and he had better receivers, obviously, like Keenan Allen. But these guys have, besides Cortland Sutton, I mean, you could argue these guys have pretty much 7 nobodies in terms of
Vele.
NFL talent,
I
right?
mentioned that last night. Vele by the
Yeah,
Broncos.
you have Vele, Troy Franklin, and the Butte, Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk.
I mean, his best weapons, Hunter Henry. He's a tight end.
Yeah, he's having a sneaky good year. So I think the Patriots cover. I think Drake May's good. I think it's extremely scary how the Patriots keep doing this. Besides a little Mac Jones run, they just seems like they found another good quarterback again somehow.
They failed Mac Jones. Not saying Mac Jones was supposed to be great, but when Josh McDaniels leaves, you don't bring in a special teams coordinator and defense coordinator to be his offensive coordinator to develop him.
Yeah, I mean you could make that argument absolutely. I mean, Mac Jones wasn't a top tier talent necessarily coming out of college, but he was a winner. So I agree with all that. But I think Dolphins win, and I do think the Patriots backdoor or straight up cover. I mean, the Dolphins could easily make this a Jason Sanders kick to win the game at the end. So
I think the Dolphins are going to have a electric game. I just feel it in my body that Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle and A-Chain, they're going to have a fun game. And Johnny Smith, shout out to him, and he's playing pretty good ball the last handful of weeks. So I just think too much explosiveness for the Dolphins. The Patriots defense isn't the best defense anymore. They've fallen back this year. And I love what Drake May's doing. Don't get me wrong. He's a stud. I think he's the 3rd best quarterback in the rookie class so far out of the 4 that have started and played. Not counting Penix because he's got garbage time. But I think 3rd best quarterback this year. And he might make it interesting in the first half, but I think the Dolphins run away in the second half of this game.
All right, it'll be good. I think it'll be a good game, divisional game. A lot of divisional games with the bye, so that's good.
Yeah. Moving on to 2 teams coming off the bye, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers welcoming back Mike Evans, and the New York Giants welcoming back Tommy DeVito. Somehow Drew Lock's not starting, even though he's backup all year. The Bucs are 5.5-point favorites on the road at MetLife.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. DeVito is always going to have a special place in my heart. I lived in Morristown, New Jersey. He was signing autographs there his rookie year when he got some playing time at a bar I used to go to for food and drinks occasionally when I was living there for work. So, hometown legend. Good to see him back, gold chain and all, slinging the rock. Give me Bucks by 16.5 this game if you want to boost the line, alternate line. Coming off a bye, they're going to be healthy. They're going to have Bucky Irving, Rashad White. Both are going to have a touchdown this game, either receiving or rushing. For they're both going to have one. Mike Evans returns. They're saying this week, almost certainly. So, give me 100 yards and 2 touchdowns for him. It's going to be a routing. Mr. DeVito is probably going to throw two picks. They're probably going to turn the ball over 4 or 5 times. Yeah, but it'll be fun to watch. It'll be fun to see somebody else in there. Giants suck. I mean, there's no other way around it. Bucks have a good defense. Offense. Bucks defense can be shaky at times. I don't think they're shaky this game. I think 5.5 is extremely low. I don't think they'll actually cover 16.5. The Giants do get paid to play football too. But I think the line could have been 10.5 or even 11.5 realistically. I think it's at least 2 touchdown game.
Yeah, I'm going to go Bucks here. It's very simple. It's very easy. I'm not going to overthink it. Baker Mayfield's playing good ball. Mike Evans is back. Bucky and Rashad White playing good at the 1-2 for them. and K. Dotton playing pretty good ball too. And Mike Evans being there is going to open the door now for these younger receivers that they were asking to be key guys with Godwin and Mike Evans out. It opens the door, kind of like it opened the door for Keon Coleman and Mark Cooper came over. So Bucks win here easily by more than 6 points. Like you said, I expect a 13, 14-point win here. Give me the Bucks in MetLife Stadium. AFC West battle, the Denver Broncos.
Oh, boy.
The Las Vegas Raiders. Broncos favored 5.5 points in Sin City.
I mean, let's just face it, the Broncos are streaking. I mean, John Elway waited his whole life just to be fired as the GM a few years ago, trying to get every quarterback he could, and as soon as he leaves, walks out the door, the prince returns, and that's Bo Nix. I didn't think Bo Nix was going to be good in the NFL. I actually did watch college football last year. I thought there was a lot of good quarterbacks in the draft. I thought there was a lot of tremendous receivers in the draft, a lot of donkeys at the running back position in the draft, but and it turns out there was a lot of good quarterbacks and a lot of good receivers so far for the rookie campaign. I think it's been a tremendous draft for a lot of people. Bo Nix was not one of those guys I thought I had up there. I mean, he just maybe because he was picked later than the rest of them, right? Maybe it was because of that in the first round, but dude's a stud. I mean, they barely lost the Chiefs. They've had some really good decisive wins against other people. Obviously, they got routed by the Ravens, right? Was that the 42-10 game?
Yeah.
I think we've had enough season this year to say that might be an anomaly. The Ravens are a really good football team, except against the Steelers. So I think everyone agrees on this one. I think 5.5 is another funny spread. The Raiders are one of those just kind of, excuse my language, but bullshit teams sometimes, though, that there's twice a year, you look at your phone and no one's watching this game on the East Coast, and you're like, the Raiders are up 3 with 5 minutes left. Like, what is going on? And it's like
Yeah.
it's like a 17-15 game somehow. So, the Raiders I've learned to not bet against too much. I think the Broncos are just still too good. And I do like the 5.5 spread. But we'll see. I mean, it's a divisional game still. That the Raiders defense for some reason can somehow, a few times a year step up. It's really weird how they do it in spurts, but I think we all agree. I'm agreeing with everyone. Broncos to win, Broncos to cover. They're trending the right way.
Broncos are just playing really good ball. Raiders are not. I do think Brock Bowers will have an electric game. He is arguably the best tight end this year in football. He's actually on pace to set the tight end record as a rookie for catches in a season. So good on him. But the Broncos are just too good everywhere else, and the Raiders are not. So Broncos win this game by at least 6 points. Give me Denver in this one easily. Big game of the week. This is your game of the week, Dylan. The 49ers, the Packers. Hey, this is an all-time rivalry between these two. The Packers are favored by 1.5 points in Lambeau Field.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough place to play Lambeau, but like we talked about earlier, I think it's just going back the Shanahan regime in the regular season feels like that they can step up and win, and I know they've had a lot of injuries, and there's probably the one year you could look back and say already they haven't stepped up and won as much as they normally do. They're already at five losses, so I think this is a huge game for them. I think they win, and I think the Packers team has been exposed, a few times themselves. They've had some good losses on their resume too, but the Eagles week 1 was a tough game and all that, but I just think we get the bad Jordan Love again, and it's just a inclination, not much more than that. I think it's just the 49ers week.
Yeah, I said Josh Jacobs is going to be the key to this game, and I'm riding with that. I'm riding with the green and yellow here. I think that Josh Jacobs is going to be the key to this game, and that will open up a better Jordan Love this game. Play action will be there. The passes, he will make the correct reads. Hopefully, it's a big game, so I think he's going to key in on that. Just give me the Packers here. I'm picking the home team here. Sorry about it, San Francisco, but you will be on a 3-game losing streak, in my opinion, when it's all said and done for Thanksgiving.
We'll see.
We'll see. Hey, another big game in the NFC West right here. This time it's a division game. The Arizona Cardinals, the Seattle Seahawks in the Pacific Northwest. The Cardinals 1.5-point favorites on the road.
Yeah, I mean the trend's been keeping up. The majority of people are taking the favorites. Especially a lot of people like the favorites at home, which I get in these close games. 1.5. really you could just be a coin flip at that point, right? 1.5 to me. Normally just edge to the home team most often, actually, but in this case, it's the Cardinals because I think the slightly better record and trending. I just like the Seahawks. I think the Seahawks are a good team. I think no one talks about them that much. I think JSN's really become like this top second-year receiver, and no one's talking about him that much in a lot of circles, and he's having tremendous games. Will DK be back this week?
He played last week against the Niners.
Yeah, I thought he seemed a little limited, but maybe they just didn't need him, I guess, to win. I mean,
I think they were targeting on DK a lot. The Niners defense was. It looked like they were focusing on him.
Because JSN went off again. So, I mean, another week healthy. I just like the Seahawks here. I mean, when you get into these weird weeks, I tend to, when you have huge bye weeks like this, I kind of like the teams no one likes for some reason, and in the close games, that is, and the Seahawks are one of those teams, along with the 49ers, obviously last pick. I just like them to win when it's close. Those two.
Yeah, I'm going to ride with the desert team here. I'm going to go with the Cardinals. They played really good in Seattle. They've been pretty good against the Seahawks in Seattle in our lifetime. And I like what they're doing, man. Now this is going to be a good test for the defense to see against, like you said, against JSN, who's been balling this year. DK Metcalf, Kenneth Walker. Geno's roller coaster rides. Which roller coaster is he going to be on this year? Is he going to be at the very top of the roller coaster and going up, or is he on his way back down a little bit? I'm thinking he's going to come back down a little bit. Not saying it's going to be a blowout. I just don't think that they have enough to beat the Cardinals this week. I like what they're doing. I think Jonathan Gannon's got them playing good, and the offensive coordinator does as well. So I'm going to go with the Arizona Cardinals here.
Okay.
On the road.
It'll be good. It'll be a good game.
Yeah, another NFC West game. NFC West team. Sunday Night Football. The Philadelphia Eagles, the Los Angeles Rams. Eagles favored by 2.5 points on the road, which will probably be more Eagles fans than Rams fans.
Yeah, I mean, that's a given. That's just the LA fan base at this point. It's kind of sad what's happening out there. I think you water it down by bringing the Chargers, but whatever. Money talks, bullshit walks, unfortunately. Eagles are good. Eagles are a top 3 NFC team, and they might be the second to the Lions. I mean, you could make the argument for that. I don't know if they actually are they currently second in the NFC in standings? Are they literally the second best team?
They are in second. If the season ended today, they'd be the number 2 seed.
Right. Okay. So they're literally the second best team, but they're good. They found a way to win. They're just as good as they've been in years past. They have a tremendous duo of great picks in the cornerback position. Yin and yang, if you will. I like to call them. They're just firing all cylinders. I think they've gotten better as the season's gone on. The Rams can put up points on anybody, so the spread at 2.5, I think you're just kind of picking the Eagles to win by a field goal, as the spread suggests. I would love to see that spread closer to game time go to like a 4.5. That would or even see 3.5 for the Eagles, and I might change my mind and take the Rams. The Rams can score on anybody. There's no doubt about that. I just think their defense is just Swiss cheese, and the Eagles' defense has been trending upwards. So I think that's probably what leads a lot of people for this pick. I love watching the Rams, but just not.
Me too.
Week. So
I said it last night. I understand it's a quarterback award for MVP, but if you ask me, Derrick Henry, and I would say Saquon Barkley is the MVP of the NFL. The way that Saquon Barkley flipped this culture, flipped the locker room around, completely saved Sirianni's job, saved the atmosphere in the locker room of Philadelphia, changed his offense around it's still productive like it's always been. I'm going to go Philly here. I think they are a team that nobody wants to play. Obviously they're professionals, so they're all going to play, but you don't want to see Philly. And it's going to be a home game on the road. You're going to hear a lot of Eagles fans. It's the way it's going to be. Fly, Philly, fly. I think too much offense for the Eagles is going to be the difference here. The defensive line for the Rams is really good. They're very young too. But if they can't get to the quarterback, the secondary gives up a lot as well. And I think the Eagles are going to be fun because of Saquon Barkley and the receivers and Jalen Hurts playing good ball. So give me Philly here. Easily win this. Not easily. I would say it's going to be a one-score game, but I'm going to go Eagles here when it's all said and done.
Okay. Yeah, I think we all agree on this one. So that means
Allen's
the Rams are going to win by 10, but we'll see.
and Allen will say something about it because he's the only
Yeah.
one.
He's
Monday night,
bound to get one.
down to get one. Yeah, you got to get one of those. Monday Night Football, the Baltimore Ravens, the Los Angeles Chargers, John Harbaugh versus Jim Harbaugh, Lamar versus Justin Herbert. Big game this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's going back to my earlier points. I like good teams when they lose to other good teams, and then whoever they play the next week, I like them to win. I like them to win pretty decisively. I always stick by that. The Chargers present much more of a battle, if you will, than obviously the Chiefs who lost versus the Panthers. But yeah, I just like the Ravens here, and there's not much more to it. I mean, it was sad, right? They had a funeral halfway through that game in memoriam of Justin Tucker and the career he had. I mean, still first ballot Hall of Famer. Um, he's probably the worst kicker, probably the 38th worst kicker in the NFL this year of the 32 teams. So there's probably 6 guys at Taco Bell right now kicking bottles into the trash can that are probably better than him, right? Um, but the good news is Evan McPherson felt terrible about him. He went out there and did very similar style kicking, just 2 turds in a turd bowl. But you know what they say, right? You either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. And Justin Tucker fucking is washed. So that was sad to see. I mean, I lived near Baltimore my whole life. Very familiar with his game, right? Seen him live many of times. But I guess they'll move on from here, and I think the Ravens are a good enough team to score enough points come the playoffs maybe to not worry about it, but it'll probably rear its ugly head here. But yeah, that's what I got on this. I mean, it looks like you made the same picks as me, even with the Chargers comments. You kind of agree with all that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's gonna come down to like it's gonna be a blowout or anything like that. I think the Ravens do bounce back. I can see it coming down to a Justin Tucker walk-off field goal here. I think the Chargers defense can make it interesting, and I think the Chargers passing offense is going to be electric here because the Ravens pass defense is Swiss cheese. Now they have big names
Yeah.
in the secondary, but they give up yards and they give up points, and you might see Lad McConkey and you might see Will Dissly, a tight end out there now playing pretty good football. You might see Justin Herbert throwing for 300 plus yards and a few touchdowns, and it could come down to a shootout game, which favors the Baltimore Ravens. That's the way it's worked. Shootouts favor the Ravens. Defensive games favor the other team. I don't expect a defensive game here, honestly. I expect it to be a pretty high-scoring, upper 20s game. Give me the Ravens, and I still don't know if they release Tucker after the year because of the loyalty. And shout out to your buddy for making the Pat McAfee show too with the I don't want to overreact but segment. So shout out to him for making that. It's pretty good. It was a pretty good tweet.
Ratsburg. Shout out Ratsburg for that. That was fun to see in our what's going on. It's 8th year dynasty league we've had since we all graduated college in 2017. My longest dynasty fantasy league, and we woke up to the news Tuesday morning that he made the Pat McAfee show for his tweet about Tucker and how he should be taken behind the tool shed and put down like Old Yeller. So
yeah, Patton had a good kick with that one.
Yeah, that was a good one. So it's good to see him.
I might have to start doing that too. But Dylan, that right there, that was our picks for the week. And good luck, man, this week when it comes down to it. I have to let you know how you did, obviously, when it's all said and done. But you ready for some college talk? Just a couple minutes of it.
Yeah, absolutely. We can round it off here with some hot takes.
Some hot takes. That's right. And let's start with big noon kickoff, college game day location, number 5, Indiana, number 2, Ohio State. Dylan, the talk has been all college football playoff rankings. How is Indiana ranked number 5 with their weak schedule, 106 ranked strength of schedule? Can they first pull off the improbable upset? Number 5 favored less than or 2 touchdowns. It's disappointing, in my opinion. But can they pull off the upset? And if they don't, how far can you see them losing in the rankings?
Can they pull off the upset? Probably not. I mean, I think Ohio State's this historic tradition. I think this is one of the better Ohio State teams we've had out of a lot of good Ohio State teams. I think they're complete at receiver, and they have a decent quarterback and 2 running backs. I mean, Henderson's kind of fallen off the wagon, but he's still very serviceable in college. I just think his NFL stock's not looking tremendous. So you take all that right. Can they pull off the upset? But if they lose, if they even cover the 2 touchdowns, it's number 5 Indiana, then I think the what have you done for me lately thing in college is huge, right? And Indiana's done nothing for nobody in football. They're a basketball program. So I think people love that. I mean, college analysts and the people who set these seedings kind of love it, I think, a little too much, and that's why they're at 5. I think the mergers and the transitions of all the conferences merging together, and then you have Indiana who brings in this fan base would be great for college football. I think that kind of helps the number 5, right? So, there's a lot of hens in the hen house here. I think if they lose, they probably drop significantly. I mean, I can't see them in the top 10 anymore, right? Because
If they keep
if they
it
get
within
waxed,
if they get waxed, they're done. They're out of the top
Yeah.
12. You kiss that chances. If they lose by like a touchdown or less, I can see them kicking them still or keeping them in maybe around 8 or 9
yeah,
and being right above that cut, which we argue about 11 and 12 because the 5 conference winners have to be in, the 5 highest conference winners have to be in, which can push 11 or 12 out. I first think that they're going to get smacked. Like you said, Ohio State, they spent $20 to $21 million on this roster for NIL. This team is the New York Yankees of college football when it comes to money spent. They are the New York Yankees of college football right now when it comes to how much money they've spent. Not saying other teams haven't spent as much money like the Dodgers and the Red Sox have historically done too, but they bought a lot of players. Junkins from Ole Miss. They have Henderson, like you said. They have Jeremiah Smith and Ibuka. Will Howard, they brought from Kansas State. The defense, led by Jack Sawyer and all the guys out there. It's a good team. I mean, they lost 1 point to Oregon, in Oregon, by the way. And I think Ohio State's going to win the Big Ten still. I think they'll win the rematch in Indiana. But first, I'm saying this game is going to probably be like 38 to like 17. Okay. 38. So, yeah, I think it's going to be done. Indiana's season, hey, you lasted through 10 games of your season. Good for y'all. But it's reality time. It's unfortunately reality check.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, sometimes the most obvious answer is the right one, and it's probably going to be the scene from The Wizard of Oz when the flying monkeys come and they tear the scarecrow apart type thing, right? So you're probably right. It'll probably be a somber Saturday for Indiana, but a hell of a year. And then go back. Maybe they can take this momentum into the basketball season again, become a basketball school again. So
I'm rooting for them. I am rooting for Indiana. But I just don't think it's going to happen. I would love for the chaos to be there because that opens the door of how far does Ohio State drop if they lose to Indiana and how much they lose by too. Because they get, but that's their number 5, so they're going to keep Ohio State up there because they lost to number 5 and So moving on to the game where I wish it would have been College Game Day because you have Army who's undefeated, number 19. You have number 6 Notre Dame, 1 lost to NIU. It's not because it's in South Bend. It's in Yankee Stadium. It's a neutral site. It's in Yankee Stadium. It's in a MLB stadium. It's in historically the greatest baseball team of all time stadium. And you're playing Army, who is right now 9-0, a chance to go 11-0 and get into they're already in the conference championship. If they win this game, they might be shooting up. And you have Notre Dame. They need to win to keep their playoffs alive. Dylan, can Army pull off this crazy upset over the Fighting Irish?
I mean, who wouldn't love to see it? I mean, even for a while there before Navy lost, the dream scenario is Army Navy, right? And they're both undefeated, and then they have to make a decision on how to seed them because Army and Navy actually wouldn't have played until after the college football seeding was set.
Conference championship they could have played, and then
that's true. I guess it would have decided, but even then, if one beats the other, how do you kick either of them out that late? So that won't happen. Obviously, Navy lost, so
lost couple games.
Right. So, but I would have loved that. If Army beats Notre Dame, 2 things have to happen. Notre Dame automatically can't. They have to be 30th seed or less, right? They shouldn't even have a say because they're already in this dream wild card scenario in this floating 5th seed conference that they created for Notre Dame, who has somehow found a way to lose a game and blow just the most easiest bye of all time in college football history with all the changes, right? So if they win, right, they're done, right? They actually they should be relegated, right? Division 2, Division 3, no longer a team. So if Army wins, they can't be ranked, I don't think, less than 5 or 6. I mean, they beat the 6th seed.
Well, you're not going to, because that's the whole, they're not going to put
the strength of the schedule thing.
That's where it's going to come in. Even though they beat Notre Dame, because they're not going to push them over Georgia and Tennessee and Ole Miss and Georgia or Alabama. I can see them pushing them to like maybe around like 12, 11. So
That's
they
just
have that.
insulting.
It is, but that's just the way it is because the problem is if Army wins, it's going to cause chaos too because you have BYU and Arizona State who play each other this week. And let's say Arizona State wins that, who's actually one ahead of Army. You have Colorado at 16. If they jump the Big 12, now you're looking at two conferences that are not the Power Five that would be in. So like you would have the SEC, ACC, Big 10. The Big 12 be on the outside looking in because of the AAC and the Mountain West. So it would cause chaos of, man, like, and I don't think college football wants that necessarily. I think they want the four power ones to at least get in because of the money. And Colorado would bring money. I think Army would bring some money too because it's a service academy school. It's never really been seen in our lifetime before. I don't think they have a chance, like I said, against when Navy played the Irish and the Navy got their doors kicked in. I think we're unfortunately going to look at the same thing. I think that the Irish play good defense. They run the ball really well. They play good sound football. Unfortunately, the Service Academy is not built for this kind of game. It's just the way it is.
I mean, that's probably what's going to happen. But it's like, I mean, Ole Miss beats Georgia, right? But if Army wins, does Army beating Notre Dame, is that more impressive? Because Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. I mean, like, how do you keep them above them? Like, I don't know.
No, because they're going to say that Georgia's played Alabama, Ole Miss, Tennessee, and Texas, and they beat Tennessee and Texas. So they're going to respect, even though they would be 9-2 if they win this week, which they should win this week. They would respect that 9-2 Georgia over that 9 or 10-0 Army, just because of the whole overall resume.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably the wake up call weekend where these really fun scenarios are killed, like Indiana and Army, and it probably is not going to be. But it's just they got to start doing right by these USFs, the USFs of the world. I mean,
It'd be
if
fun.
there was ever a time to expand the playoffs, you make a 5th seed for USF that year, and they didn't do it, right? So they're not too big on improvising or doing right by the team, so it's probably not going to happen. But the Army be anything less than a top 10 team after beating number 6 Notre Dame? I mean, you play who you play. They didn't make their schedule. If they beat the very best teams they could play and are undefeated, I don't know how you keep them out, but
I will be rooting for it because like it opens that door of chaos. And how does the committee respect them? Because they finally brought them up 5 spots, but it took a while for them to get really respected in the CFP rankings. So it will be very interesting to see if they beat the Irish. I mean, if they beat the hell out of them, it's going to happen.
And this would be tough because Army's best chance of winning is scoring their 10, 14 points and just hope it's a turd on the other side of the ball because that's who they are. They'll have the ball for 36 minutes, so but we'll see.
Like the Irish did play Navy, which some were obviously triple option.
Yeah.
Mixtures of passing. The Army quarterback has thrown the ball from time to time. I think we might see some passes to catch the Irish off guard, but unfortunately, I just think that it's a Fighting Irish victory here.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And let's go on to another battle, and that's the battle between the Heisman candidates. You have the betting odds favorite, Travis Hunter and Ashton Genty. A lot of the people's choice. Some people obviously have Hunter. Dylan, who should be the Heisman favorite, and who should win it?
Well, let me ask you this: how many rushing yards roughly does Genty have?
He's at like 1,800 with the 24 touchdowns, rushing touchdowns. And out of all the other running backs that won it recently, he's miles ahead of them in both categories. Those guys weren't even near him in those categories.
And then Travis Hunter has 911 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns. All right,
and 3 interceptions.
Let me ask you this: how many defensive pass deflections does Genty have?
Unfortunately, he has 0.
Okay. Travis Hunter has a bunch. How many interceptions does Genty have?
Well, he would have 0 because he doesn't play defense.
Right. So if you have a guy who has such an impact on both sides of the ball in college football, right? It's not like he's just making a mild impact. You could make a very solid case that he's a solid player on both sides of the ball, right? He's not amazing.
Like,
he's not.
And the team's the team has a good record. They're 8-2. It's not like they're like
right.
last year where they only had 4 wins.
Right. And they're in the Big 12, respectable conference. BYU's ranked up there and all. So it's a fairly respectable conference, but
yeah. somehow.
But anyway, it's just my point is you have a guy doing all of this on both sides of the ball. It's never been done. You can't point to a player, at least in college, who's been this tremendous on both sides of the ball, or really in the NFL either. I mean, you have Deion Sanders, Bo. You don't
Charles
know
Woodson
Bo.
played a little bit of offense.
Charles Woodson, Hall of Famer.
But it wasn't as much. It wasn't as much offense though for him. But he played offense.
Right, and Hunter probably won't be able to do it in the NFL. Right, there's probably a really good chance he picks one position. I think personally he picks the NFL wide receiver position because it pays more, but we'll see. But my point is this: I mean, hey, the greatest thing since Barry Sanders, right? Ashton Jeanty at this rate, there's no doubt about it. And Barry Sanders, we all see what he did, arguably greatest running back in college and NFL of all time. Up there, at least in the conversation. Yeah. So you can't disregard it. It's just the only problem is he came in, he's doing all this in the 1 year. You have a God-given send from some planet, not Earth, down who's can play. I mean, the guy's playing 189 freaking snaps a game, dude. I mean, I don't know if you in terms of being the most important person on a team, on any team. I mean, I guess the question could he do it at Alabama or Georgia or LSU? I mean, I don't know, but I think he probably could start on both sides of the ball there too.
Yeah.
And be decent. So I just think I don't know how you argue against a guy who's playing double the positions for the same salary. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like if you showed up every day for work and then left and then got back in your car and drove back to work. I mean, wouldn't you be your best worker in your office?
So my argument would be, and I respect what Travis Hunter's doing. Like, obviously, it is challenging to do. I'm not a big PFF person, but PFF does have him top 10 in each position. Now, when you talk about Jeanty, though, it's 1893. That's what he's got through 10 games.
Yeah, it's insane.
So he's averaging 193 yards a game, 189 yards a game, is 0.3 a game. And he's got 26 touchdowns, which means he's averaging 2.6 rushing touchdowns a game. And he's got some receiving in there as well. So he's going to arguably probably be at, I mean, if he's on pace to what he's going to do, I would say probably 2,400 yards. He'll probably have 30-plus rushing touchdowns. And he did play, I know he lost to Oregon, and he only loss was against Oregon. And now, the year he's having is single-handedly carrying Boise State. Is Travis Hunter single-handedly carrying Colorado by himself? That's the situation you're looking at, too. I know he's got a big part of it, but they do have Shedeur Sanders. They do have a couple other good receivers, not maybe to the level of Travis Hunter, but and I get it, they are 8-2. That's the difference, too, compared to last year where Travis Hunter did the same thing. Colorado's winning this year. So last year, you couldn't give – if this was the roles reversed and it was the same thing as last year, of course Travis Hunter's not going to win the Heisman on a bad team. It's just not the way it works.
Yeah.
And I just think that it's such – we have not seen a running back do – like, yes, we see running backs have big years, but we've not seen a running back do this in decades. And when Mark Ingram won it and Derrick Henry won the Heisman – Ashton Jeanty's numbers through 10 games was miles ahead of these guys. And those guys were competing against good offensive players too. So the fact that I don't think a quarterback should win it. I don't think it should be Dylan Gabriel or Cam Ward.
Not this year now.
It should come down to these two. That's my argument here. But Ashton Jeanty is single-handedly carrying this team by himself on his back. It's been the Jeanty show at Boise State. You can't name another Boise State player. I mean, I can't name another Boise State player.
Right. No, and you can't argue against that. It's just if he could get 3 interceptions or 15 tackles to end the year, I'd give it to him. But it's just you have this guy who's top 10 at 2 positions, so it's double and give it to the next guy. I don't know how you just. It's just in any other year, I think it's Jeanty, but you have Hunter. I mean, I'm biased towards player who can do both sides of the ball this well, because it just doesn't. You talk about when you make your points or your argument, you bring up how Jeanty hasn't done this since Barry Sanders, but when people bring up Hunter, when I bring up Hunter hasn't done this since Travis Hunter in the college football. So
no, I get that.
He's the only one. You're not comparing him to other people in college football from years past who have played both sides of the ball this well. At least you have Barry Sanders, who at least somebody did it once. But I mean, I don't think that's a great point to take away from him not deserving it. I just know that they're almost like the same. They're almost like the same tremendous player, except one guy does 2 things. That's why he has the edge, in my opinion.
The thing the thing I would ride with is through 10 games, Genty's not had a bad game. Through 10 games, there's been a couple quiet receiving games for Travis Hunter.
Oh yeah,
So I
no
mean, I
doubt.
get he might have played corner still really good that same game, but
Yeah,
and I hate the whole argument that Chris mentions. Well, he's only got 3 interceptions. Okay, well, great corners don't get the ball thrown at them neither. So like, I'm not saying you have to have 10 interceptions to be a stud. If you have 3 interceptions in the season, but your passer rating is like 30s, that means you're playing a great cornerback position. You're just not getting interceptions. You're not getting the ball thrown to you nearly as much to get those chances. He has to create his opportunities by leaving his guy to go get tip passes. That's good high IQ too. I'll give him that. That's great IQ for Travis Hunter. But great corners don't get the ball thrown. Darrell Revis wasn't getting challenged every single play in the NFL. Like that, you don't do that. You don't challenge the GOATs or the greats as often.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to talk about conferences, though, there's 3 other top 25 teams in the Big 12. There's not one other Mountain West team even remotely close to being scheduled, right? So you could argue rate of play. I mean, he's rushing against plumbers.
But he did run the ball extremely well against number 1 Oregon.
Yeah, and I think that is a really good point. I think Hunter's going to get it. I think he's the favorite for the reason. I think if they both just continue this pace, I still think Hunter gets it. I hope it doesn't come down. I really, truly hope it doesn't come down like one of them just missing a game with like an ankle injury, because that would really suck for how cool this has been this year.
It's a good race. Definitely a great race.
I think it's the best race I can remember. I think most Heismans, for the most part, have been pretty clear by the end-ish. I mean, my boy Manti Te'o got snubbed, but other than him. But no, I mean, it's good. I think they're both tremendous. I think the 2-for-1 package you have with Hunter and being that efficient, I'm not even going to say elite, just tremendously efficient at both is just never been done, right?
Yeah, it hasn't been.
We'll see. It'll be fun. I really pray. I mean, you don't want anyone to get injured. I just really hope these two don't just like miss any games. Like, I just hope they play every game, so you can truly just see if one ends up having because if Hunter has a game where he gets torched for 200 yards, or he has like 12 targets for 0 catches, he's probably done. Yeah. Or on the reverse, if Genty rushes even for like 60 yards and no touchdown one game, like which is crazy, he's probably done. Even if he has like 140 total yards on offense, so yeah, it'll be interesting. It's awesome.
It's definitely awesome. You know what was awesome was you joined us tonight, man. I know.
Appreciate
you stepped up for us. Like an hour left. You kind of got you prepped on, got you ready to go, got your mic all sounded up. But first off, good luck to your Dolphins this weekend. Hopefully they start that comeback. I know I've been hammering them since the offseason about their hard schedule. Also, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. We're going to be out. We're not going to be recording next week. We will be kind of on a Thanksgiving break vacation. I'm not bringing my computer down to Florida this time around. The only day I'd be able to record is Tuesday anyways. So
okay.
No point of recording, but we will be back the week after Thanksgiving because we will have college football conference championship weekend. Will be set by the time we are there. We will know who's in the conference championship for all these. We will know who the Heisman candidates are. We will know every single thing that we've been talking about, and we will see a closer look at the NFL last month of the year with December coming around. We'll be there to start previewing that, start overreacting to week 13 since we're going to miss week 13 next week. Dylan, man, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving too, man. It's the best holiday in my opinion with the family at least.
It's tremendous. It's right up there with Christmas, which is right behind it. So I totally agree with you. Thanks for having me on the show. It was good. I think it was a good episode. Some people are saying the best episode yet in the history of the show. So
Twitter's
not me.
Twitter's been popping. Twitter's been popping right now about it.
Awesome. Yeah, X.
Yeah, Elon changed his name. I forgot. Hey, Elon's doing things out there apparently. So
yeah, sending shit to space. That's good.
Yes, SpaceX. But no, Dylan, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving. I'm definitely gonna be talking to you probably during the holidays. Be talking to you as usual every single day. I go to work, every day I come home. I'm giving you a ring-a-ding. But hopefully you have a good weekend. Hopefully you have a good Thanksgiving holiday week as well. I'm Mark Davis. That's Dylan Powell. Shout out to the rest of the boys that couldn't make it tonight. Thank you guys for listening. We're back in a couple weeks. Have a good Thanksgiving. We are out.